how did Stefanski land in Atlanta? And walk me through best you can the Packers' mindset in keeping LaFleur.
I would say with Atlanta, Kevin Stefanski did an initial virtual interview there. Him and Matt Ryan are both from Philadelphia. I was told basically the conversation never stopped. The interview never stopped. The two of them were talking a ton. Stefanski at one point FaceTimed Matt Ryan, and Ryan is sitting there watching tape. He's been on the job for a couple of days, and he's in there. This is much closer to John Elway than it is to Tom Brady. Matt Ryan is very invested, so you've got that kind of kindred football spirit that Kevin Stefanski was looking for. Tennessee wanted to bring him on Sunday. The Falcons got the interview set up on Saturday. It was more of a coronation than an actual interview. Not a surprise that Stefanski lives in Atlanta, where you can argue, well, his issue in Cleveland was he didn't have the quarterback. You don't have the quarterback in Atlanta. No, but you got Bijan Robinson and Drake London and maybe Kyle Pitts if you tag him or re-sign him. You got a ton of weapons, and a quarterback that you could choose to potentially work out a new deal with in Kirk Cousins, who had Kevin Stefanski as his OC the year that Stefanski ended up, getting the job. In terms of the Packers and Matt LaFleur, that never really changed. The mentality was always there. They wanted to see how the season played out. There was a comment that Ed Policy, the new president and CEO, made last offseason about, hey, I want to see the season. That set off bells and whistles with a lot of people of, is this guy in trouble? Is Matt LaFleur, is he coaching for his job? I never got the sense that any of that was real. They never called John Harbaugh. They weren't considering replacing a 46-year-old head coach who also is a top play caller with a 63-year-old. It just didn't make sense, and that's nothing against John Harbaugh. They weren't going to go down that road. This was a negotiation on the financials. They were able over several days to figure that out. There were conversations about how does everybody, be the best that they can be between Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, as well as Russ Ball, who's there as the executive vice president. Once they felt like they were in a good place, the market was pretty well established for what Matt LaFleur is. He ends up staying in Green Bay. And so now with Sean McDermott out, with Green Bay not making a move, we have 8 head coaching vacancies across the NFL. And if I may, Rich, really quick, kind of game this out, I would say the next one to watch is going to be Miami with Jeff Hafley there this afternoon. He is, as I reported over the weekend, a front runner for the position, has a relationship with John Eric Sullivan. I would be surprised if Jeff Hafley is not the coach of the Dolphins, but he does still have teams like the Titans that are tugging at him. The Steelers are interested in Jeff Hafley as well. There are other teams trying to see if they could potentially get him out of there. Tennessee's the other one that could go anytime. Nagy and Saleh are there today. Nagy, of course, has the relationship with Mike Borgonzi from their days in Kansas City. The Raiders have seemingly ramped up their process. They're actually in Miami to watch Fernando Mendoza play in the national championship game tonight. Well, they spent the morning with Mike McDaniel, who's a head coaching candidate to potentially work with a Fernando Mendoza. Then they're going to stay down there in Miami. Tom Brady lives in the area and interview a couple more candidates over the next couple of days. That one could get moving. In terms of the top jobs, though, Rich, the ones that I would say are the ones that everybody is talking about here, I don't get the sense the Ravens are in a rush. They are setting up second interviews this week. Anthony Weaver, their former player and assistant coach, is one of those who's getting that job. Obviously, Buffalo is just getting off the ground. And then you have Pittsburgh, which is setting up additional interviews this week. They spoke with Adrian Rivero, I believe, this morning. They've got Brian Flores coming in tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, one I'm really fascinated in, Mike McCarthy, Pittsburgh native,
the toll taker,
Super Bowl winner, 12 out of 18 seasons. He's gone to the playoffs. He's everything they haven't hired in the past. Offensive background, been a head coach before, and he's 62 years old. They have very consistently hired 30-something first-time defensive backgrounds. But if you're thinking about this from the Steelers' perspective, and there are not a ton of candidates that fall into that bucket right now in terms of what you've always hired. McCarthy has a relationship with the GM, Omar Khan. McCarthy knows how to develop a quarterback, which, whether it's Will Howard or somebody they draft, they're going to have to do that eventually. And don't discount that if Aaron Rodgers is ever going to play football again, the one person on the planet besides Mike Tomlin he might consider doing that with is Mike McCarthy.
Is that right? Because last we heard in an Athletic article a couple of years ago, a Bleacher Report article, pardon me, that that wasn't the case, but that'd be fascinating. You never know, man. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.